Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our special webinar to talk about the state of small business. Good to see everyone. Saw a lot of you last week for our staff development conference, but thought this would be a great opportunity for you to get a chance to meet Alan Fox, who is with the Georgia Department of Economic Development. He's actually a new board member for GACCE as well. So we're glad to have him on with us today. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We are going to keep you on mute as Alan goes through his PowerPoint. Feel free to use the chat feature though if you have any questions, and we can interject along the way. We also will leave plenty of time at the end for you to ask questions as well. But with that, Alan, thanks again for being with us today. Great to see you last week too, but we are excited to hear more about the state of small business.
Great. Tiffany, thank you so much. And again, it's great to be with y'all again. And I appreciate, GACCE for allowing me to kind of participate in showing you a little bit about, one, what my role is with economic development, and two, how I can help you with your members and your community about explaining all the different resources and networks and marketing assistance that we have for small business. Who am I? Why am I here? This outreach is a passion strategy of the governor. Governor Kemp had his Georgians First Commission. I know many of you were probably part of that, where he went across the state, him and a team, Scott Hilton was the head of it, went across the state and really engaged with small businesses, elected leaders, regulators about how to make Georgia more competitive for small business. And I know that is obviously the priority of you and your members. So my position has been to articulate everything that GDEC, economic development, does for small business. That's one of the things that we've been trying to strengthen. It is 80%, of what we do. And I know many of you know that, but I think we want to get out and really go to our small businesses. One, tell them what we're doing. And secondly, hear wonderful stories from the community about small businesses thriving. I know we have our Rockstar program, but one of the things that we do as a department is market and tell stories. And small business success is one of the things that I really want to focus on. So kind of pulling back, the way I've kind of devised the strategy was I wanted to talk to Georgia small businesses. And the best way to do that is to talk to our chamber community. Pat Wilson, our commissioner, always says that economic development is a partnership. And I think there's no greater partnership between the state development, economic development arm, and our Georgia chambers across the state. So one, I want to thank you for what you're doing, and just kind of for you to sit back and watch a little bit of this presentation and see if this is something that we could do for you and your members, or if it's something that I can come to your community and do. We really want to have this whole menu. And again, I was with Tiffany and company last week, and I have a PowerPoint, which you're about to see, and I have a Kia. So I can be in your community. I can be in a Zoom call, anything that I can do to strengthen the relationship we have with our department, and most importantly, articulate to your staff and your members of all the different support we have at GDEC for small business. So I'm going to start the presentation. It's around a 30-minute presentation. And again, there's going to be Q&A time kind of at the end. So we'll get going, and I'll just kind of start the presentation. So, I think the thing that many of our members know is that economic development is the sales and marketing arm for the state. And we're attracting new business, but most importantly, we are supporting existing industry, and small business is certainly part of that. Many of you know the governor likes to talk about it. Commissioner Wilson likes to talk about it. We have the unique distinction as being named the #1 state in the nation for small business for the 8th consecutive year. And I think that's mainly due to the strong small business community we have throughout the state, whether it's in Macon, whether it's in Moultrie, the coast and up in the mountains. We take great pride in the small business strength that we have in Georgia. We also, like I mentioned, take a partnership approach to economic development, which means we all work together for Georgia's economic development success. And that's one of the reasons why I'm in this position, is to really help strengthen those ties between our department and you and your members. So a constant theme you're going to hear from me today is your success as a chamber is our success as a state economic development arm. And that's a partnership that I really, really, really want to help strengthen from our office down to you and your members. We know, obviously, the past couple of years essentially has been really challenging for you and your members. We know that the small business community in the state was hit hard by the pandemic. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to begin an aggressive outreach to help those small businesses grow and recover from the pandemic, and to let them know they have an advocate here at GDEC so they can reemerge even stronger. The governor always says that we support job creators in every community, no matter how big, no how small. And so I'm gonna be really, really hitting that home as I travel across the state. So a couple things you're gonna hear from my presentation today: the impact, the global impact small business has on Georgia, the resources that we have from this department to help your members grow and thrive, and I think the vision that we have as a department for continued small business growth.
Alan, I want to make sure your PowerPoint's working because it's not moving forward. So I just want to make sure we're still on there we go. Perfect. All right.
Great. So we have some pretty powerful statistics for small business. 99.8% of all business in Georgia is small business. We're defining small business as independently owned and operated, fewer than 300 employees, $30 million in gross receipts per year or less. So that is a huge net, as y'all probably know. But again, it is 80% of the work that we do as a building. That is really, as one of the things that I did is I pulled back and I went to every single division that we have at GDEC, trade, tourism, global commerce, center of innovation. And they kept saying, they're like, Alan, obviously the overwhelming majority of the work that we do is with small business. And so that's just a number that I'm going to go back to a lot. It's 80% of what we do. The picture right there is our friends at High Road Creamery out of Cobb County. They were a 2020 Rockstar winner, and they worked with our international trade team to ship their product internationally. So we'll obviously, many of you are familiar with the Rockstar programs, but when I go to your community, I love to highlight local small businesses, right? So I can work with you and your team on great stories that I can talk about it on my presentation, great trade stories, small businesses in your community that have really great success story to have. We did it in Augusta. And Cal and his team are just doing really great work of working with Sue, of course, from the chamber, but Cal from the Development Authority, really kind of doing something unique. And we like to talk about that in every single community about how you're helping small business. So the story that we tell at GDEC is the story of our approach to small business. And the story is here to essentially empower your members, your small business members, through championing the people and policies from economic development, connecting the resources and networks, and finally sharing the marketing expertise so that our small businesses in the state continue to thrive. Small business remains the backbone of our state's economy. It's 80% of what we do. I'm going to say that a lot. If it's a drinking game, you're going to be able to take a shot of coffee every time I mention 80% of what we do. But I boiled down this approach to these areas of empowerment so that it's a little bit easy to digest from one, a presentation format, and two, as you're working with your members about, all right, Alan, we want to kind of talk about, certain championing policies or championing people, like the people that you have, or most importantly, the connection bucket. These are areas of empowerment. So champion, connect, and market. And they're the roadmap of the way I talk about small business growth in Georgia and the way in which I kind of organize this presentation. Many of you know there are 7 divisions that directly and indirectly touch small business from GDEC: Global Commerce, International Trade, Center of Innovation, Tourism, Film, Council for the Arts, International Relations. And so I've tried to make it in a kind of digestible piece that's easy to understand and not overwhelming for you and your members as they kind of think about the resources that we have from GDEC. So as you can see, we do a lot. And so no need to take notes or anything like that. I have a QR code at the end that has all of our links and a little bit of a notes section so that for you and your members to kind of articulate and go over. So we have so many resources, services, and grant funding opportunities. So we really want folks to listen up. So our first area of empowerment is champion. And the champion part is the people, the policies that we have at economic development and our resource page. So our small business resource page was developed with, many of you might know Lindsay Martin from our existing industry regional recruitment team. And this was built around early stage entrepreneurs or small businesses and kind of any stage, be that at the early stage or been around for 10 years, 15 years. These are kind of the questions that they're asking. How do I find a mentor? How do I find a business license? How do I get connections to certain certification programs? So this was our kind of one-stop shop built around those inquiries our office gets. And it's usually the first page we direct folks to at GDAC for small business related questions. It does have links to our Secretary of State friend's website about getting a license. It has links to certain funding opportunities, obviously private sector resources for funding. It also has connections to certain certification programs. We know that some of the major concerns that small businesses have had and entrepreneurs have is access to capital. So we do have that funding resource page. We have access to multiple webinars with our partners at SBDC, navigating the PPP loan process. So it's kind of this wealth of information for small business. So I guarantee you, if they have a very particular question around small business, this is going to be the first page that I'm going to direct them to. We also have a newsletter that Lindsay and his team send out every week, which kind of has a summary of kind of the different opportunities that are available, the different resources that we have, and certain training opportunities. Lindsay and his team field about hundreds of emails and calls from entrepreneurs as they begin this journey. So this is a website that is kind of based on those inquiries that our office receives. You know, something that we've tried to do at Economic Development is support minority-owned businesses through championing the policies that is intended to help them grow and thrive. And it's increasingly important that our small business community in the state reflect the diversity of Georgia. And a McKinsey study recently came out and says that Georgia has the 7th highest percentage of minority-owned startups in small business. And of course, our women-owned small businesses are one of the fastest growing segments in the state. So though we do not administer programs for minority-owned small businesses, we do connect them with certification programs through DOAS. And of course, Georgia Department of Transportation, we obviously have connection points to the Women's Business Center, and of course, SBDC and the Georgia Tech Procurement Office. So again, you know, if you're working with a member that's obviously minority-owned small business, making sure that they have that certification from DOAS so they can get certain procurement opportunities. We do have links to that on the georgia.org/small business webpage. We also have a point person at DOAS that's Julianne Bailey, who's fantastic about kind of walking small businesses through making sure that they're getting those opportunities to get a contract from state government. So that's been a really important part of that. And many people are not aware of that. I think that's the biggest thing that I've received as I've gone to communities. They're like, Alan, we had no idea. So if that's something that you can articulate to your members of this, and I'm happy to walk them through this or connect them with our friends at DOS to kind of walk them through all the different opportunities that are available to them. So, you know, we talked about the resource page for championing. We also champion small businesses through aggressive pro-growth policies. And these are the tax incentives. These are the policies that we help enact here at GDAC. You know, like most of us, obviously small businesses hate taxes. So we do have some tax credit policies that you can take advantage of. They're available to every small business. We have a link to that incentive page. I know many of you in your communities are familiar with that, but a lot of our small businesses are not aware that they could potentially apply for those incentives. I know that it's a lot. So I do have a link to our incentive package. A couple things that I really want to highlight for the group is obviously we have multiple incentives that cater to various industries, I think 11 to be exact. 3 of particular interest that would be for small business and your members: small business tax relief, you know, faster depreciation on equipment deduction, the entrepreneurial and small business development loan guarantee program for our rural small businesses in the rural parts of the state, and of course our special zones, those opportunity zones that we have from the federal level and from the state level. And so those are just something that you can give to your members for them to kind of take back and marinate on to see if that's something that they qualify on. So I know many can qualify that, many can apply. And so though we don't administer that, I can connect them with the folks here at our Global Commerce Department that can see whether or not that's something that they can take advantage of. So our final area of championing is with people. So many of you work with our regional project managers, but many of your members are not aware that there is a point person in each district of the state that really is our on the ground representative. I know just doing this, the most effective, I think, spokesperson for small business, or the tip of the spear, are our friends at the local level, which is you, the economic developers, as well as we have, our regional senior project managers from across the state. And they're the on the ground representative. They're in the community. They are building networks. They're advocating resources, and they're helping small business grow. They work with your organization. They work with elected officials. They work with economic development offices. They work with the private sector. And it's a great way, I think, for your members to strengthen their network. Know who that point person is. Introduce themselves. Our good friend Candace Scott is in Macon in Middle Georgia, and it was great to have her there. When I went to Macon, to say, all right, here is the point person for this community from economic development here in Middle Georgia. Get to know her, introduce yourself to her so that she's aware of the needs and the great stories of success of that small business. And we work really great with those folks, because we kind of go off our, like, what do these communities need? What's a great story? What's something we can partnership with, whether that's a tourism kind of resource discussion, whether that's a trade resource discussion. Those folks on the ground are going to know obviously more than we are here at GDEC in the Atlanta office. So it's just a great point person that we have. So our largest area of empowerment is going to be the connect. And these are the connection to networks, to markets, innovation solutions, the funding resources. This is our biggest area of empowerment. And I think this has got something for everyone, all of your members, to take advantage of. So we know small businesses and trade and the arts nonprofits can apply for certain grants administered by economic developments. We did offer grants for tourism. I think many of y'all are maybe familiar with that, but that has obviously been put on hold as we've kind of reemerged from the pandemic. The governor wanted to make sure that we were helping those hospitality and tourism small businesses, as we reemerge from the pandemic. But that's now been put on hold. But we have a couple things that I want to talk about for funding. If folks are like, hey, how can we get funding resources, our grant opportunities from GDEC? And this is kind of those two ones. The Go Global Georgia grants, these are available to small businesses looking for international customers. They're reimbursable grants for marketing material, trade show costs, travel and training. The 2020 recipients were from all over the state, and they had employees from 2 employees to 500 employees. And again, it's 80% of the folks that qualify for that would be considered small business. So that's something that if you have a member that's like, all right, we're manufacturing something, we're kind of looking for international customers, we want to kind of get into this, reach out to me, reach out to our trade team. Happy to help connect them with that, and so that that's something that they could potentially look at for international customers. The second kind of funding opportunity grant is our Georgia Counts for the Arts, which is a grant program for our arts nonprofits. But we all know that arts is a huge driver for small business, especially in tourism. They worked with a Columbus Museum to support certain programs and exhibits. They worked at a museum in Augusta for veterans. We know that these grants have a huge impact on communities and in your community, in your backyard. So we want to make sure that, if you're working with an arts nonprofit, or you're familiar with the arts in that community, to make sure that they're talking to our Georgia Council for the Arts folks to get certain funding opportunities. So continuing with the theme of connection, many of your members sell a product. And again, if you're looking for international customers, we want the first stop they go is to our trade team. Our trade team is the main exporter of Georgia's small businesses. Mary Waters, many of you know, she's our Deputy Commissioner of Trade. She said all the time, she goes, Alan, no matter the circumstances, we're going to find a way to get our small businesses in Georgia to find international customers. And they've got just a menu of resources and connection points that they have that they can help your members as they're looking for global opportunities. So our trade team works with 2,000 small businesses a year. And for the first time, our state was ranked among the top 10 for exporting states, working with 215 countries and totaling about $140 billion of growth. Our trade representatives help small businesses navigate shipping and logistics issues. We have a great story of a company using our Chinese rep to help fine tune the China strategy and increase sales for their small business. So they also offer procurement webinars about how to find procurement opportunities. And again, they have the regional reps, which are, the global reps in 12 different markets across the globe. So again, if you have a member that's just kind of thinking about this or manufacturing a product, we want to kind of help walk them through this trade process for international customers and markets. So sometimes one of your members might not be looking just for international customers. We offer something that we can connect small business to, which is kind of finding solutions. Our Center of Innovation team leverages networks, advice, additional resources to help small businesses remain competitive. This is I think it's one of my favorite connection points, because this is kind of a mini consulting shop of, if you are a small business in aerospace, energy tech, ag tech, IT, digital media, logistics, manufacturing, and you have a challenge or an obstacle, regulation questions. I was working with Representative Bruce Williamson yesterday about an ag tech company that's navigating certain soil research. They basically work with you. They're asking questions about, what does your small business need? What's holding you back? What are different ways to help your small business grow? They're filled with subject matter experts in those fields that can leverage their networks, both in the private sector as well as in the research and development sector with our academic partners. So they really kind of help a small business kind of figure out certain obstacles they're having. Now, these are not your early stage entrepreneurs. These are going to be kind of your companies that have been around for a little bit, that are kind of looking for one particular obstacle that they're having, and they're kind of stuck figuring out a certain question. And again, we can work with our team on that and help them out. Sometimes it's not always technology. Our Center of Innovation team helped Sweetgrass Dairy out of Thomasville. They were looking to extend the shelf life of their cheese as they were exporting it across the country. And they were having some issues with the shelf life. And so they contacted our friends at COI, and they worked with the University of Georgia Ag Science Department to kind of develop a patent to extend the shelf life of that cheese. And again, this was a dairy coming to COI being like, we have a problem, and COI kind of putting their brains together and figuring out ways to make this small business competitive. And it's a great story. Our Center of Innovation team is also in your communities as well. They're working with our innovation accelerators. I think we have 14 around the state to help those early stage entrepreneurs. Again, so they've got those connection points. So again, if you have a small business in those specific industries, I would be more than happy to kind of connect them to our COI staff so that they can, one, know who they are, two, kind of figure out how they can leverage that marketing expertise for them as they look for challenges that they might be having as a small business. One of the things that our Center of Innovation team has done, which I love, has been to connect Georgia small businesses for military procurement opportunities. We have, I think, 11 military institutions across the state, obviously Fort Benning and Columbus, Fort Gordon and Augusta, Warner Robins. And it's important that many of our small businesses in our communities have an opportunity to bid on contracts. Again, we do not obviously administer federal contracts, but what they have done at Center of Innovation is they built something called the Georgia Defense Exchange, and it streamlines federal contracting information and procurement, in which 5,000 small businesses in Georgia have taken advantage of that. Federal defense contracting is a $9 billion industry. So they have built this, it's a one-stop shop. It's kind of like a Yellow Pages of what the opening is, what the contract is. It allows you to apply for that contract through that online portal. And it also lets you see, Amy Huddle helped build this at our Center of Innovation team for aerospace. And it lets you see what contract was given the green light. And so you can figure out ways in which to redo your bid if you're applying for that contract later on. So it's a way in which we're connecting procurement opportunities from the feds here at COI. I don't really think anyone needs to hear how thriving our film industry is doing. It is certainly booming, and it's mainly due to the thousands of small businesses that are behind making our state a premier destination for film production. So just a shout out to the historic work that you and your team are doing. I know that many of you work with our camera ready contacts, which sometimes are within your chamber, and they're obviously with your sometimes with your CVB in your communities. So they do just a wonderful job. And I know some of your members are like, all right, how do we get action? To use no pun intended. How do we get some of that action to work with the film industry in the state? We have something called the Production Directory for Crew and Vendors, which allows small businesses and vendors to kind of register their services in our directory that we share with productions that qualify for the film tax credit. Our film office, obviously works to recruit those productions. And so that production is like, all right, we're looking for a lawn care service in Cartersville. And instead of us kind of having flashcards of that, we have kind of that online directory that we send them to be like, all right, you can aggregate that for Cartersville, or aggregate that for Columbus. Catering opportunities, contractors. So this is a way for your members to kind of register that in our system that we share with those production contracts. Another great way is we have our film ready contacts in every county of the state, 159 counties. We have 159 camera ready contacts. And we tell many of the small businesses that I work with, say, all right, obviously register in our production directory, as a vendor. And then secondly, get to know who your camera ready contact is. Figure that out so that they're aware of your small business. And as they're working with the production, in a permitting process or whatever, and that production is like, we're in need of certain service, they can know that you're in that community and they can help find those opportunities for you. So it's two great ways to do that. We've built a Georgia FilmWorks story webpage, which kind of highlights stories of small businesses in the film industry across the state. And again, we want to help tell the story. So if you have a great story of one of your members that's in the film industry, that's thriving in your community, send that to me. We like to tell those stories. That's something that our commissioner loves to tell as he goes to communities. We share those with legislators. We share them just around the state of the industry, really helping those small businesses. We encourage films to spend the most amount of money in the state. That's the whole point of the credit. And if they're spending, I think last fiscal year, they spent $4 billion in the state. So we want the majority of that to go to small businesses. So we have a great story to tell there on top of the amazing productions that they're filming in Georgia. So our final area of empowerment is marketing. And so these are ways in which I really think these are kind of direct marketing assistance for those small businesses that might not have the budget for marketing. And that's something that I think we have done internally here to be like, all right, how can we help from the marketing standpoint, small businesses? So we have certain marketing opportunities for small businesses, international trade, and then we have certain marketing opportunities for small businesses in tourism, the hospitality folks. And then I'm going to talk about a marketing resource and recognition that's open to everybody, every single one of your members, which is something that we call the Rockstar program. So obviously on top of connecting you with international customers, we're going to offer marketing assistance through our Go Global Georgia grants. We obviously act as the main exporter for Georgia small businesses. So being a part of that Go Global Georgia grants, it's mainly for marketing, right? Marketing material, marketing travel, marketing assistance, marketing training for as you look for international customers. The main part has been to be a part of that trade show presence, which is I think we go to around 12 trade shows a year. And this offers kind of a reduced cost for exhibition space, being a part of those trade programs. A great story that I love is we had a Georgia small business take advantage of being a part of a trade show, and they took a little bit of SBDC training, and they found an opportunity to sell $1 million worth of ice to Australia. I don't know who's buying Georgia ice from Australia, but I love that story of a small business not really knowing about that opportunity, going to a trade show and finding a contract to sell ice in Australia for $1 million. That's just we love those stories. So many of you in your communities know you work with your Convention and Visitors Bureau. You work with a lot of your members that tourism is a huge driver for small businesses in Georgia. It generates around $80 billion in economic development impact a year, supporting 500,000 jobs. What is a tourism small business? Many of your members are part of this: retail, restaurants, attractions, hotels, Airbnbs, food trucks, downtown, downtown festivals, that sort of thing. And obviously our arts nonprofit. So we know that is just a huge driver right now. Georgia is really on the up and up when it comes to hospitality and tourism. This is the industry that's been hit particularly hard during the pandemic. And I know many of our tourism small businesses, many of your members that are tourism small business, hospitality, do not have the budget for marketing. So therefore, our Explore Georgia, which is our tourism department, is the main marketing arm for tourism small business. And the way in which they do that is they have a menu of marketing resources for any small business in the tourism industry. I just went over that list: hotels, restaurants, attractions, and the impacts that these small businesses have. And it plugs them in to some great marketing assistance that I think many of your members would really love. So for that reason, we have regional product managers, just kind of how we have in the global commerce with our championing of all the different people in your community. From the marketing perspective, we have regional product managers across the state. These are your points of contact from the Explore Georgia, from our tourism team. They connect you with the marketing resources, but they also work with our Convention and Visitors Bureaus, our CVBs, across the state. Many of you work with those. Again, that's that point person. So again, if I'm in your community and I'm giving this presentation, I'm going to mention if it's Lori or Nija from our team, and maybe they can come with me. If not, I have their picture. I let them know who that is so that they can connect directly with that point person from Explore Georgia, and then that person is going to walk your small business, your member in tourism, through the menu of marketing tools in which Explore Georgia can help. Access to the website, the social media page is just amazing. I think they're one of the top 10 followed social media pages for tourism departments across the country. We have our travel guide, which is in every visitor information center across the state. And we send out marketing emails. And if one of your members really wants to get into the weeds of tourism, who the visitors are, what they're spending money on, when they're coming, we have something called the tourism dashboard that maybe helps a small business in your community make those strategic decisions about when to offer certain promotions or when certain visitors are coming to the state. So again, that is a great way. Mark, our commissioner of tourism, has done just an amazing job of really recognizing this is the need right now, of making sure that our small businesses and tourism get in front of the eyeballs of visitors coming to Georgia. We have 150 million visitors to Georgia each year, and they spend around $40 billion. So that's just a wonderful resource for your small businesses to get in on that. And it's just, I love it. It's a great story that we're offering kind of that marketing piece for your members as they kind of find ways to take advantage of our thriving tourism industry. So something that is available to everybody, including your members. I know many of you are familiar with our Rockstar program. We love it. It's a great way to tell the story of small business. And something that I also want to do is maybe want Tiffany's help, or maybe your help, of more ways for us to tell stories of thriving small businesses outside of our Rockstar program. But this is something that is a big deal. Each year, GDEC and the Georgia Economic Developers Association our good friend Kevin, recognize a handful of outstanding and unique and impactful small businesses in Georgia as they take risks, impact communities, and employ Georgians. And we know you have those members that have a wonderful story to tell. The winners are recognized by the governor and by the commissioner, but most importantly, they receive a heavily promoted social media presence and push from our platforms. And so our friends at Mama Geraldine, which was down in South Georgia that won last year, she said she got around a 20% uptick in inquiries for her product based on her getting this. So it's kind of like a twofer. They get a recognition, they get a little plaque, they get a ceremony, but also they just get a great, big, large marketing push that again helps them find those opportunities. So the 2021 winners were Wander North Georgia, Skyfire Consulting, Mama Geraldine's, were to name a few. The winners receive a large marketing push. And then I think in May, we're announcing the 2022 winners. But I'll have a link to the application page. Many of you are familiar with this. This is huge, but anytime that I can get in front of a community and tell them about these opportunities is great. And the Rockstar program is available to everyone.
The whole idea about High Road was making ice cream by chefs for chefs. Georgia's perfect because it's near the port. We import our Tanzanian vanilla. We're near a lot of dairy and a lot of produce and a lot of ag. So being in Georgia is huge for blueberries, corn, peanuts, not to mention peaches, because who doesn't love a Georgia peach? When my husband Keith and I started the company in 2010, we've lived all over the country, so we knew when we came back to Georgia, it was really where we wanted to lay down our roots and start something.
I was born in Georgia, and after college, I moved around quite a bit.
Oh, Alan, I think it stopped on us. Alan, do I have you? Everybody, I'm not sure if we lost Alan or not. We'll give him a minute or two to come back on with us. Nope, we may have lost him. Everybody, we will make sure that you get this presentation in our email that I send you of the recording. You're also going to get Alan's contact information as well. And you can reach out to him. He can come to your location and do a similar presentation. He can do smaller ones with some of your small businesses. So thank you for being with us today. We appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry we lost Alan, but we will make sure that you get this information later this morning. And I hope everybody has a great day. Take care.